Greetings all. Welcome to the Racing Line, episode 16 this week. We're getting legal now, so
Sweet 16, let's
God,
go.
dad jokes
Sweet
already.
16. Yeah, look out. Yeah, we're gonna have a really good special guest this week. He'll be in a little bit later. He's pretty busy as this time of year, as you might guess, but we have our normal co-host here, Adam and JG. Good to see you guys again.
Hi,
Adam, you had a day off from working on planes, I guess.
Yep. It was nice.
Yeah.
Much needed.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
You ready for it, Jason?
What's up today?
Yeah, we had some intense short track racing this weekend. All three leagues were at shorter tracks. Had some rain thrown in. Still has a lot of draft in the FBs, so
A lot. Yeah, that's an
Little bit.
understatement.
a little bit.
All right.
So,
Speaking of,
want to kick it off?
They're already fanning at 3 and 4 wide, heading down the start-finish straightaway. Not a good start for
Wow.
Marvin.
That's
Darin's going to be
Rock
slipping in
Classic.
as Tulo sets a pace, leading them comfortably, heading down into turn number 1. Ladar involved in a fight. Green starting to dice it as well. Montgomery, however, a fight like this...
It's so great to see the big grids like that for the Vs.
Adam was
And, you know, it's a two-sided coin. Sometimes you get big grids and you have a lot more issues, but I think our guys are pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, no, this is... It's been so much fun this season. I mean, we covered him last season, but there's just so many more people in it this season, I think.
Either way, it ended up in some contact there. So we are definitely
we were
the hornet's nest of cars.
30-ish this time.
I don't know if you
On the
watched
outside.
I don't know if you watched that broadcast back or not, Stevie, but Ron almost let one slip there. Almost.
Comment that I made about a
Yeah.
lap ago, I feel like this field may blow apart just based off the commentator's jinx.
Yeah, you know, the pressure.
He said it. He said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be going for a wide.
Just momentarily there. They're looking.
Holy cow!
What they're going to do here is they're going
Ron losing his losing it.
T1. So this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, that was a good
can go 3 wide.
big
through.
pack.
You actually can
Yep.
get
Oh,
wide through
Mayer.
there. Spoke a little bit too soon as Mayer just dips
Man,
one
Simon's
into the wall.
kinda lost track of me.
Unfortunately, we are
Yeah.
wrecking race cars here now.
Easily done.
Oh, I lost track of you
lap are we
too.
on
I
here?
started
We're on
washing
about
out. I
lap
was
5 or
like,
6.
"Oh, I'm
We've
sorry,
made it to,
Jason."
and now all of a sudden we are wrecking cars. So a little bit of contact out into the
Yeah,
grass.
a little wide and
20 not terribly long ago. However, she's dropped down
Here it
like
comes.
a rock. So I think there may have
Nope.
been some sort of major
No,
drama
not yet.
involving her as a 3 wide
Thinking
action
about it.
continues
Yep.
at the front of the field. Now Tulo, Perry, and Montgomery battling as hard as they can. Montgomery running pretty much all 4 wheels
Oh, yeah,
into
just
the
moment.
curb. Look at that. Thompson wheeling it in the middle with Tulo and Green. Adam, calm
Adam's
down,
stuck in
my
the middle.
friend. That is
Yeah.
about as ballsy as you could possibly get. It looks like it's going to work out for him for the time being, as he may try and get a move done on Tulo in the not-too-distant future, as Tulo's son inherited the
Yeah,
lead
I
in the
didn't,
spectator category. So
I didn't think
Andrew
we'd be
Love
still be
putting in
3
a
wide.
pretty good result, riding on board with him now, heading his way off into the corner. He's a camera car, full wide crashing, heading down the start-finish straightaway. Love getting a piece of that. Tulo involved, Montgomery involved in that incident as well. Looks like Brewster got a little bit
Sorry,
of contact
guys.
with Tulo. Marzuki slipping past Tulo as he
Yeah,
is very much wounded in that number 90 car.
Kind
But
of
that
on
was a
all 3 of
beautiful
y'all,
bit
I
of
think,
camera work
'cause they're
there
kind of
of
moving
Love.
forward and-
Seeing that drama happen in front of him, that was 4 wide. That was way too close. Thompson was involved in that.
Unfortunate. So I think I see
Montgomery
what
as
happened
well. Considering the drama with Tulo,
That's
he's
what
very
happened
much had
after
to
the
come into
finish in
pits.
another
one.
Thompson, though,
Yep.
trying to get a move done through the final corner. That's not a smart move, I don't
That was
feel,
such a
because
weird
one of
spot
these
to make
drivers is gonna
that
get
move,
dragged
but
down like they're
Andrew-
dragging a parachute.
Andrew went
Looking
defensive
at
going
this,
into
though,
the final
they're going to be
corner.
5 wide. Oh my God,
That's
drivers,
what
do you
happens
fear
when you,
no
when you make the
death?
pass the last
Perry
quarter, you
getting
go
the
5
move
wide
done.
at the straight.
Coliseo slipping through as well in the Chiquita Banana car. Looking at Perry in the middle of that. Thompson and DeGassis now battling hard. They were battling for the lead. Now they're battling
Nate
for
is a
4th.
fast boy.
He's up in second.
Mhm.
He's
A lot
gonna
of
be
fun to race
probably
with,
second,
too.
maybe
Super
even
aggressive,
first by the
clean.
end of this corner through the middle. Looks like he's going to be able to clear everybody here into T1. So if I was Adam Thompson right now, I would be trying to be as clean as I possibly can.
These drivers covered by barely any air. Gotta say though, guys,
Yeah,
see a
that was his first
side-by-side
race
fight
with
go
her
on
too,
here
wasn't it?
involving Telker
No,
and
no,
Beck.
he's
Now
been here
look
a
at
bunch.
Lattarulo involved in that. Actually, now that's
maybe like the
Ethan
last
Orr
3 or 4
making a
races.
3 wide, hang down the start finish straight away off into turn number 1. Looks like Orr is gonna get that move done. Beck gonna try and sweep around the outside. Buttermore and Lattarulo, and that's a spin for Beck, and Buttermore getting some big
Lane.
major major airtime. 6 or even a 10-car fight. We got a 9-car fight in this battle right now. Looking at him 3 wide, heading down into turn number 1. Perry leading it for the time being. However, he's got DeGassis and Coliseo on the inside line. I gotta say, as DeGassis
just never
grabs the
did
lead
separate
from
much
Perry
the
as
whole
he
race.
runs wide and deep,
Nope.
heading off into Big
No.
Bend. Ooh, actually, Perry trying to
elbows,
fight back on the inside, heading off
Good.
into turn number
The
3.
tone got set.
Gotta say,
Lap
Josh,
one,
I'm a
turn
little
one,
uneasy
and
about
elbows were
DeGassis.
out
He had
the
that
rest of the
contact
race.
early on in the race with Ladar, but these drivers are feeling risky. That was
Jason's
contact
back
heading
there
into
going,
turn
well,
number 4
we've got
for
8
sure.
cars.
Once again, I
We've got
believe
9
that we
cars.
have
We've got
our
11
fourth
cars.
leader of the race here.
So we were at 7, y'all. Yeah,
DeGassis,
so you can
Perry,
see here
Thompson,
the
and
Jim
Coliseo.
and
We
Guido
have changed
caught up.
leaders 4 times in about 6 laps here, and it looks like we're about to do it again, going
That's
4-1.
yeehaw.
Perry kind of backs
That's-
out of it there. That's too, so we can kind of relax. If somebody gets by him, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but if he goes forward, it can be kind of a big deal. So keep it clean, keep it nice and calm, and then you can kind of just pick people off. So maybe that's what's
Yeah,
happening
right.
out there on.
I was not calm.
Keep it nice and calm. I don't think it's a message that these drivers have caught as Love goes off the track.
There goes
That's
the
going to
Jim.
Watch
blow
the
that
miles
field
and net code
apart.
here
Love,
if
I
it
think,
shows the replay
however,
here, Stevie.
was
Gotta
one of
love
only 3 cars
the Formula
involved
Vs
in that.
here.
I think Heemskerk
I
got
don't think we're
involved
gonna
in
put
that
that
incident
on Love
as
here, but
well.
let's
So
have
I
a look.
don't think... I don't have a good feeling about
pushed,
all
I
the
think,
other
pretty
drivers
good
involved
here.
in this.
Bit
Yeah, it
of
was
neck code.
contact
Yep,
with
bit of
himself
neck
and
code.
Perry. And there you can see that major
And
contact with Jason
Stefan is
Perry
taken out as
and
well. Unfortunately,
Heemskerk
he's been
heading
super
off. But
unlucky
coming
this
to white
season.
flag this time by Coliseo is going to be leading them coming out of the final corner for the second to last time in this race. The real thing is, though, he's probably not going to take the white flag as Thompson closing, reeling them in. Is he going to take the checkered flag? Who's going to take the checkered flag? Maybe Greeny's got a great one. Great
I
run heading
saw
down the start-finish
Mr.
straightaway.
Green
Looks like
starting
he's going to
thinking
not get
about
it
it
done
there.
on Thompson.
Yeah, I was like,
However,
I got a
nearly
heck
got
of
the
a
move
run.
on
I might be able to
Coliseo,
get
but
all of them.
DeGassis now fighting back on the inside
But
line.
I wanted
Those
to
two
be in
drivers gotta be
third, at
side by
least.
side. Thompson and Coliseo running P1 and P2. Green and DeGassis trading blows for that
Just
final
final?
podium spot.
Yep,
And they
final lap.
want to be the one having that draft, being in the lead of this
Around
race.
the
Not
outside.
going to be a good thing at all. So I have a feeling, as much as he's our friend and colleague here at SMB, Adam, I don't have a good shot about him winning this race just because
All right, Ron,
he's
shut
gonna
up.
have to fight
Shut
like
up,
a
Ron.
drive, possibly the widest Formula V race
Though
car
he
in
says that
national,
Chris
just
Montgomery
trying to
won
hold
from the
off
lead
Coliseo. I think he's
last
lifting,
season.
heading off into turn number
So it's
5, but
possible.
he's a smart he's a smart cookie, so he knows that he doesn't want to fall into that pitfall. Thompson, though, he's going to be the one
Got too
punching the
close
hole
to
in
me.
the air, coming out of the final corner for the final time in this race.
the lift
Who's
will-
going to win it? Is
Yep.
it going to be Thompson? Is it going to be
Yeah.
Coliseo? Or is it going to be Green? 3 wide coming right to the line.
Wow.
And it's
Coliseo
going to be
takes it.
Nate
I don't
Coliseo
know
winning it
how
over
you
Thompson
didn't
in P2
take
and
second
Green
there,
in
Jason.
third.
We came across the
Coliseo
line so
timing that
close
run
together.
to absolute
Yeah.
perfection.
I had to
And
lift,
if he was just a
to
half
not
a
run
mile
over
an hour
Nate.
slower coming out of that final
So
corner,
yeah, lost
he
some
may not have
momentum.
won
But
that
yeah,
thing,
top 3
considering that
covered
gap was
by
only
300s.
18,000 of a second
normal
between
line
Coliseo and
rock
Thompson
stuff, and
after
then, like,
30 minutes
top,
of racing action. But
top 7
Coliseo
covered by
timing
4
that
tenths.
run to the line, the absolute perfection. Here's the
This is
side-by-side fight that we got
Weekend
between
Warriors Formula
Lador
V
and
race.
Tulo. We thought these
Absolutely.
drivers were going to be
Parvinder had
battling for the
a
win.
great
They
race line
battle
as
for the
well.
last 2 spots in the top 20, and Tulo wins out, finishing
Give them together. Just a fantastic race at the end of the day. And we have a high
Yoink!
of jump to this car.
Who hit the jump? Who in the hell was that? That may have been Jason Ryder that just got sent up
Into the
into lower
stratosphere.
orbit.
Oh, yeah, Jason Grider was an epic jump at the end.
So obviously,
Good job, Jason.
yeah, great
Yeah.
job at the end there, Jason. You win the freestyle trophy there, but there's your leaderboard. Obviously, no Masters here in the V's, but congrats to Nate, congrats to Ken as well, taking the win in Spec 2.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that. Ken had a fantastic race. Let's go, man.
Yep.
He was part of the pack that caught up, stayed out of trouble,
Yeah.
and his best finished in a while. Although I think he's particularly strong at this track, so another great drive from him.
There's a guy there in P7 as well that's not going to get shown on the leaderboards here when we go looking at the actual race results. Guido, this man had a serious chance to win this race. Just hung around, probably back 7th and 8th place the whole race. And he was up there for a second, but just got shuffled back and couldn't do much about it. But Guido being super smart about it too.
Yep.
All right, on to the FFs.
Of laps. And with
That's
that big front
Suzuka
stretch, we
E.
have a good lift and coast opportunity.
It's
We see-
raining.
Is that Jason Green
Jason
in the
Green
pits?
in the
There's a
pits.
green
Yeah,
car
what
starting in the
happened there,
pits.
Jason?
York Manny is
Again?
getting ready to start this race. Get
I
ready.
left Polyfuel in it. and I didn't
Yeah, they're
realize
already
until,
underway. We saw the pit car
10 seconds
pit lane-
before the race
sorry,
started.
the pace car
so,
dive into the safety of pit lane.
yeah,
Jörg Manny goes
missed the
very
start.
early, which is a little bit
Tam said,
surprising.
is
He's
that
going
an
to give a
altitude
lot of
record for
opportunity
the
for
FVs?
slipstream.
It got pretty
but
close.
easily
to that, I'll
covers
tell
off
you
that
that.
lead.
It
We
might
see them
be,
too
yeah.
wide. Everybody kind of looking around for grip.
Oh,
got
ah,
Daniels on the
there he
brake.
goes.
There's a collision
Yep,
there in
Daniel
fourth and
broke
fifth,
on the
and
white
that's going to
line.
send Daniel Tufts off. It looks like he's going to be able to get the car going again, but that's going to ruin his race. He's got a lot of ground to make up
hit
now.
that white line a few times in practice.
From
and it
Ian
just-
Joyner, the spray, and he's going to
touched
go
that
for a move
in
on
the
the inside of
brakes.
Kane Alasky. We're going to see who's going to be able to brake better in the wet. Right now, it looks like he's going to
Watch
carry
that
that
line.
momentum around on the outside and retain that position.
This was
an
Watch
interesting
that
race.
back behind Jim
Mhm.
Brewster
Oh!
making contact with
Oh!
Antonio Reese.
Hold the
And then
brake.
there's
practice
absolute
was
bedlam
like
in the
this.
aftermath.
Yeah.
The whole
Mhm.
practice.
So
And
here we
then
are
when
on
we got
board
into
with a view from
qualifying,
Brad Cathcart.
it
I
was
believe
not
he got caught
raining,
up in this.
but
You
we
see
still
there
had a
is
damp,
Antonio Reese is
semi-wet
doing everything he
track.
can, and yet
Mhm.
not
And
really
it
a lot
kept
you can
drying
do,
up
especially
as
in
we went
condition.
through
And Adam
qualifying.
Thompson gets
And then
caught
we
as
go
well.
back into the
Actually,
race,
not just caught, he
which
gets
is
mounted there
up.
by Cathcart.
On it
There goes
to
Adam.
close this gap up.
Yeah.
He's really going to be feeling the pressure, and it looks like
But yeah, it was
very
very
good.
helpful to actually
Making a
have
move
it
in
raining
fourth
in
place.
practice
Ian
this
Joyner
time
going
instead
to
of
take
having
that away from Kane Lasky. As we see Jörg Manny.
just going
Or
straight
sorry,
to a
Michael
wet
McConnell
race.
gets a little. No, that was Jörg
That
Manny.
was
Gets
a
a little
result
bit of that
of
curb there.
having the
in the
sessions
Oh,
different
and he's
times
going
of
to
the day.
spin coming
There
off
goes
of
Monty.
turn 2 out of
Yep,
the lead.
hits
Jörg
the
Manny
white line on
throws
the
it
exit.
away. We see him get on the curb here, and it causes the car to be unsettled
Not
and
not the
puts him in a
first,
bad position.
he might have been the
Coming through
first,
turn
but he
2,
was
gets
not the
out
last
there
to do that.
near the
this
curb,
race.
finds a
No.
little bit of a puddle, and around she goes, and not affect anybody else's race, knowing that he's a lap
And then
down.
Stevie
We
had
see
an
Stevie
interesting
really
time.
taking a wild pedestrian.
Well, back there.
Although
As
you-
we
I
look
don't-
further
you didn't
through
get a
the field,
penalty
the
for that.
direction right now
Nope,
is-
I
it
was
didn't give me a
shocked.
penalty. I
Bill
was
Walker there
I
is
was
going
too.
out of the way.
Absolutely
Oh, and Kevin
shocked.
Adrian's gone wide.
Oh,
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 Wilkie
whoa.
manages
Murakami as well.
to evade. Yeah,
Sympathy
Murakami
spin.
comes sliding through in reaction.
avoiding
Gonna
spin,
jump
yep.
back to a replay of
Oh no,
Stevie
what'd you
Ray
do, Stevie?
coming into turn 1. Let's see what happens with him.
Is
And he
this-
just goes
yeah,
a little bit
this
tough
is-
there, gets on the
this
brake
is
a little bit
A-line.
late, and is going to go for an adventure out in the gravel.
That's,
Lands
and you
straight down,
saved it.
Doesn't beach it.
Yeah,
Brings it
he's
back
just,
onto
he's
the
just
track,
opening up the
and
next corner.
doesn't lose a whole lot
Yeah.
of time. Shockingly enough, we're going to see Bill Walker is coming out of the pit lane. Talk us through this one, Zippy.
Well, this is the
Yeah,
incident that
Bill just
happened
got in
there
a
with Wilkie. You can see that's Kane
impossible
Lasky on
situation
the
here.
left. Kevin Adrian runs a little bit wide. There's Wilkie.
Oh,
And I don't think he's realized at the time that
Yeah.
Bill Walker's there. Gets tagged a little bit. Murakami spins in.
Let's
I
see a
will
little
say
bit
the
of
FFs
debris there
and
flying.
these,
We had an
or the
incident
Formula Vs
ahead
and the
of Wilkie.
FFs. For
It
some
looks like
reason, you
everybody's
lose
running
people in
fine,
the
but it
blind
looked like
spots
a bit
pretty
of
easy.
debris coming off of
Cars.
the car from up at the front of this pack.
Oh, then Wilkie gets on the white line.
Oh, Wilkie!
Yeah.
Wilkie loses it under
Another one
braking.
under
Going to make a heavy
brake.
contact.
So
and
easy
with
to
the
do in
outside
the rain.
barrier,
Just
and that's going to completely
lose track
ruin
of where
his
it
race.
is.
But right now, Lasky's kind of having a little bit
Tam
of a
said,
net
"Nice
issue, I believe.
shortcut,
He's
Stevie."
blinking a bit for me. Kevin Adrian's doing all right. Oh, no, that's Stevie.
Oh,
Right?
Thanks, Tam.
Julian Ditchburn, nowhere he could
Although
go. Stevie
here-
Ray was
Yeah,
black and
yeah,
white,
this
beached
was.
in the middle
Hold
of the
your
track.
brakes,
Oh,
Stevie.
dear.
Turn 1 and gets a little bit
Yeah.
sideways there, and he gets out there on that curbing and immediately tries to pull him to the left. He has
Oh,
to
no.
make a correction,
Oh, no.
overcorrect, spins the car right into the path of Julian.
Actually,
Ditchburn,
if
who
I
has
would have got
nowhere
down a
to
little
go.
quicker,
Car to
you
overtake
would've
No,
missed
no,
it.
no,
Here he
Stevie.
goes.
So we'll see how well
Always,
Manny can
always,
make his
always
way
hold the brakes.
past-
But yeah,
past,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Kevin Adrian,
Stevie,
yeah,
did
he's
not,
coming out of turn 2.
had some issues
Another
getting it
crash
back to the
warning.
pits
I'm
there
sorry,
too,
ladies
because
and
I
gentlemen,
think you only
generally
three
don't
wheels
like
on
to
the
focus
ground.
on crashes too much, but if you guys keep lining them up, it's fair to
Yeah,
say
I
I'm going to
was
start
trying to
playing some of them.
limp
But
it
let's
back
see
and-
exactly what happened to Jeff
Yeah,
Jacobson.
didn't work.
And see Jeff Jacobson.
Oh,
coming
no,
out of
Jeff.
Turn 2 gets it a little bit wide coming out of the exit, but it's fine. And then he's going to attack
Oh,
the S's
whoa.
and just comes in with
Yeah,
a little bit
that-
too
I
much
was having
brake or
trouble
a
with
little
that
bit too
corner
much
as well.
speed.
Look, it's going to be another casualty here.
Yeah,
in
there's
turn
another
1. You
white
see,
line.
Another one
there
on
he
the
goes.
paint.
Certainly,
Yep.
nothing to feel guilty about there. And there you go. There's Murakami ahead of him. So certainly Thompson was keen to get by. And I wonder if this is that incident you just saw happening in the background. Maybe that is what Quentin called
I was
out
trying
Thompson.
so hard to get by
And,
Chris
yeah,
here to get back
exactly
up
the
to
same
Wilkie,
thing. So
but
Murakami does it one lap.
Yeah.
Thompson does it the next. What else we
And-
have going on? Let's see exactly
save.
Take
exactly
shortcut.
what happened to Kevin Adrian.
And
And I
then
got a feeling it's going to be a lot of the same
another
thing.
one.
Yeah, wow. Round he goes.
Wow.
ladies and
Whoa.
gentlemen. Round
Ooh,
he
okay,
goes.
Kevin.
Just the
Oh, I just got the
360.
warning for it. I'm just trying to keep an eye on who has and who hasn't pit, and it looks like, yeah, that
Oh,
turn
you're-
one is indeed.
Same thing.
It's almost getting to a red flag scenario at this point.
Oh,
You might
stop
be able to
it,
go away
Daniel.
with a no stop
the
here.
track got better, and then
Time
they
it
got
just
worse again.
right and get
Yeah.
the pace is just right. And I was, oh, Kane Lasky gets that exit curb, and you see just how wet these curbs are. He's going to use the opportunity to dive into pit lane. Great recovery move.
Where is Lasky going to emerge? Well, let's take a look at Ditchburn first of all. There's Ditchburn, there's Lasky. Where's McConnell? As Ian Joyner's just
these
in the
three
pits as well.
stayed surprisingly close.
The fight to
So
the
for
end is
pretty
going
much
to
the
be
entire
on,
race.
and McConnell absolutely slides onto that inside line, ends up at the back
So I
of the
think
field.
we're
Well, I think Lasky
1 or 2
was
laps
relying
left.
on passing in the pits for a lot of success today, and certainly it's helped him, but it looks like he's now going to have to force a move. Look at the slide there. Ditchburn twitching on the outside, Lasky on the inside, and these guys going back to single fire. As courteous, certainly Lasky did ruffle a few feathers over in the SRF. McConnell on the other hand, he's right back.
Yeah,
He's trying with a slide there. He just caught it as he came off of camera. He ran a little bit wide through that penultimate corner on the exit. Catches that outside, possibly even just the
barely
paint.
nicks
We're
the
seeing
white
him a
line,
few corners
and then he
before
kind of
gets
gets
there.
stuck.
Yeah, here he comes across this final curb. The curbing here and gets
Right
out there. And just on the paint, just the paint. Gets the left rear out there on that paint. It's enough to send that car around of a skip pad. Maybe we're
boy,
going to get going again. He was just waiting. Was he waiting for Adam?
And they didn't catch on the broadcast, but Daniel and I had a good finish as well.
The wedge coming down. It's gonna ruin the party. Just an absolute cluster here on the front straightaway. Yeah, there, to the inside of turn 1. If you're able to come in through that little entry there.
So yeah, that was a bit of a wild one, but it was
It's a challenge.
Yep. It wasn't, but it wasn't awful. The track was actually surprisingly drivable. For me anyway. I don't know. I was actually struggling with understeer more than anything. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Certainly, I had to make up some ground starting from the pits again on accident. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, I enjoy the rain races, and it was. You're not going to learn how to run in the rain if you don't run it. And I know I was bitching about it the whole time, but looking back on it, yeah, it's the only way to learn. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it as well. But yeah, congrats, Ian, Jorg, and Bill, top 3 in their respective classes there, or winners of their respective classes.
Let's go.
All right, we got one more to go here, and it was a bit of a point of contention. But
here we go. But we're about to start here.
Yeah, SRF's at Tsukuba.
And here we go.
Aleix Pleva leads the cars out of the final corner, and on the way they go. 2 wide, 3 wide coming up to turn 1. Aleix Pleva on the inside, going to have a very tight line, but again, it manages to cover off the lead. Marco Pinero taking a look up the inside, looking to fight for second, looking to fight for third, going to slot in fourth there in front of, it looks like Hayden Bramley. And we got a bit of a backup. It's going to be a huge checkup in the field. This bunch coming in.
It's hard to get
of turn 4. Looks like everybody's got through cleanly so far as they make their way.
He barely
turn
touched
5,
the rear of my car, and he
and
just
6.
completely destroyed the
Still
front
got
of
some
the car right
2-wide
there.
battling going
He
on.
was so
Everybody's trying to
slow
sort
down the
themselves
straights,
out.
but
Jason
he
Perry
didn't lose
looking
any
to
speed
get
in the
into
corners,
line.
so it was
No,
kind of
he's gonna make a
annoying.
move up the inside. Going to make a very aggressive and
JP
opportunistic
was
move. Get one
absolutely
spot,
sending
and
it
now
on
he's
the
going to find
on lap
himself
1, which
right
you
there
kind
on
of
the
have to
rear
do at
bumper
Tsukuba.
of Josh Wilkie.
It
He's gonna
was
look
so
punchy
difficult to pass.
coming into the
JP
turn
likes
9.
to
He's
do
good.
that.
Yes,
I've
he's going to
noticed.
look to the
JP
inside.
likes to
Shows
sit.
the
in
nose.
general,
Going
yeah.
to pull alongside. We see some more battles ahead of them. But Jason Perry going to try to get this move done on Wilkie as they come out of the final corner to complete the
there's not a
first
lot
lap.
of passing.
Jason Perry's getting it
tight.
done here at
Oh
the
my
start.
God.
Well, he certainly isn't hanging around, and we
and he
see
kept
2 wide, 3 wide potentially there as they head down into turn 1. Yuanchi Lane going side by side with Wilkie there.
Not really on the camera, but I was able to go around the outside of Hayden at turn 1.
Hayden Bramley
Thank
in
you,
the
Jed.
Asset Price Machine.
Still
able to
there.
get on the
Yep.
inside. Now, this corner here was an interesting topic of discussion. Myself able to make some very interesting
Listen to
passes
Zippier.
on that green tarmac. Now, it was strongly advised not to do so, but certainly it worked in my favor, so but I'm not sure. I got a little bit of a warning. Let's take a look. It looks like he's on alongside.
Yeah, sorry,
Andrea
see your
Fabini,
example
if I'm not
here.
mistaken.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that creep
I did it
curving
again.
I'm on about, and I guess maybe I was a little bit luckier there than some of the other drivers. But
This was like
Yeah,
3 or 4
Zippy.
laps in,
that's
and I had to wait till everybody
Starts
gone
Adam
by.
Thompson making a
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on Apollo
Zippy
Brown.
was just he was
Trying to be the
adamant
last
that
of the late
going on
breakers
that
there,
curving
trying
was
to show
fine. I
off
was
his
like, no,
Daniel
Zippy,
Ricciardo
don't do it.
skills. Gets it a little
Yeah.
bit too late, ends up giving that
For
spot
that
back,
reason.
and then a few others.
I believe that is Adam Bradshaw, and ahead of them is Simon Mayer. Now, I have a crash warning from Murakami.
It's
and
so
that's
easy
why
to
I'm
lose
not
a car
sure
like
what
that.
happened to Bradshaw.
Joshua Wilkie came in with a 9.6 second stop time.
Oh,
Everybody
this
else
is when
in the
things went
10s or
south for
11s,
Josh.
and you see Wilkie
Yep.
really getting battered there by Andrew Love. coming
Andrew,
through
nice
that
guy,
first
straighten him
corner, and
out.
what a gaggle
Yep.
formed off of
Though
that.
now
Paulo
Josh
Bream
is
there.
squeezed to the inside. His tires are
Adam
overheated.
Bradshaw.
Sends it a
Oh,
little bit too hard into the corner.
Wilkie, it just goes from bad to
Yeah.
worse. He takes Paulo Bream with him in there, and
Yeah,
definitely
once you
up there
spin, it
towards
takes
the
a little
rear
while for
bumper
those tires to go
of
down.
Philip
You're going to
Berry,
spin
and
in
going
the
to be getting
next corner.
slipstream, and now
Yep.
he's going to have to get a little bit aggressive and try to get these lap cars out of the way. First he's got Berry, and then he's got Paulo Bream. He's going to look to the inside. It's a very,
What
very
a
risky move, but he
move!
keeps his foot in the door. Philip Berry gives
Wow.
him just enough space. He wasn't really expecting a dive there, but you kind of have to expect it when you got the leader coming, trying to break up
Oh,
this
no.
battle
Coming
for the
back.
Philip Berry slide.
Yeah.
He's going to hit Kane Halliburton. Leader luck does not play out for Halliburton in this case. Phil Berry gets a little bit wide there in turn 4, and slides out in front of
James is free and clear.
Halliburton here. He's got some heavy damage to the front end of the car. We'll see
Kane
how it
has
affects the
damage.
drive as he's trying to defend against Aleix Pleva. Aleix eager to get around him now, where before he was very
James,
passive.
no.
Another car is at Wilkie. Wilkie ahead has trouble with the exit of
that's
turn 8.
Uncharacteristic
Yeah, he's
mistake
got a
from
lot
James.
of gap ahead of him to close up in order to get any.
He had like a 2-second gap. He's pretty much free and clear, and then he had
the challenge for the lead of
tail
this
spin.
race. Aleix Pleva not going to fight him very hard. He gets it done there at the apex. Marco Pinero crosses the line, new leader of the
Yeah, so
race.
James
See the battle
pitted, so
happening behind him,
Marco
actually. Bramley's managed to make
wanted
it
to
past
push.
Bradshaw so far.
Took the lead
Brewster's
from
definitely
Alish.
putting his elbows out as well. And it's fair to say Bramley, he's going to have
This
his work
move
out.
was a
That's
little,
the move I'm on about. Definitely a little
didn't
bit
really
of a
make
sin.
any friends with
Bradshaw's
this
there on
one.
the inside, gets
No.
caught up. Bradshaw and Brewster side by side. Andrew Love, looking behind him, trying to work out how do I get past these guys.
Too much at the end of the race. Either get them taken care of with 2 or 3 laps left to go.
Marco
God.
and Alex
Whoa.
were going at it. I thought
Slicing
for
and
sure they
dicing
were going
there
to
out of
crash.
I
Marco
kept
Pinero to go
kept
defensive
hearing you
on
in
Aleix
Discord
Pleva.
saying they're going to crash. They're going to crash.
That's why,
Counts, but you know, survival is key, and certainly we've already
I was
seen
actually
that when
fuel
these
saving
guys
at this
go
point
side
because I
by
was
side, look, you see
slightly
Pinero covering up the inside.
short on fuel.
Flavor making sure he really has to go to the inside.
Ooh,
and
outbroke
Playver's
himself
run wide.
there.
This is the
Yep.
opportunity JG was looking for, and that's it. Playver's dropped back. JG2 now taking the 4th spot.
Keep an eye on the battle up ahead of them as well. They got clean air in front of them for
Unfortunately,
a good
Zippy missed
5.5, 6 seconds.
the pass
So
for the lead.
the fight is on for the win here. If Walker can
fine.
close that gap up, Pinero going very defensive down the straightaway on the approach to turn 9.
Just going
Going
on
to
to the
keep a
left lap.
nice tight entry here. This is a good opportunity for JG to get a good run through this final corner. And
Ooh,
gonna
that
have
was
a
a good run,
Gonna be
JG.
able to get alongside.
Oh.
Gonna have
Had
it
to
on the
lift a
inside
little
line as they
bit so I
take the
didn't
white
spin
flag.
Marco.
Final time into turn 1. Can Jason Green get it done under braking along the inside of Marco Pinero?
We have a
That's
little
yes,
contact.
Only just a little bit of contact, and he's
Have
going
to
to have to
lift or
back
else,
out as we see
you're
who's that
both going
behind.
off the
Just
track.
A little sideways of Guido Marzucci, and now Pinero
Crossover.
manages to get back in
And
front and close that position.
Marco
off. And
was
here comes
sideways.
Pleva
Yeah.
And
on
this is
the
on the
exit
broadcast, but
of
he
turn
was
4,
so
gets a good
sideways there,
run,
so I had
but
to lift
not
out of
enough.
it.
As they go through turn 5, we're going to see a dive bomb out of somebody here in turn 8. We absolutely must.
Man, he
Jason
must have
Green
had the
showing us
tires
very
on,
early. Going to
'cause you
cause
were just
Pinero to go
closing
defensive.
that
Most
back
likely,
up.
no, he does not defend.
Yeah, he
at all.
was short
So
on fuel.
they're going to get a good run out of
So
turn 8.
he was
We see
shooting mad
James
fuel
Walker, does he
saving
have
while trying to defend,
anything at
and
all
he
for
runs
Kane
out right
Halliburton in
there.
turn 9.
Okay.
Halliburton opening up that entry, going to get their run through turn 9.
It's so difficult to
Walker
pass
all
here,
over his rear
James.
bumpers. Might be no, it's not going to be a drag race.
He's
as
so
we see
fast
Walker
here,
has
but
to, Halliburton has to tap the brake coming out of
close.
the corner
Oh,
just to get that front end under control.
look at that.
And now Green
Wow.
has gotten around Pinero with fuel trouble.
Yeah,
Pinero's going to win the Adam
I was
Thompson Award for fuel
not
management.
in front of
here and
either of
gives
them
up
until
2 spots
until
right
right
at the end of
then.
the race,
So I
which
definitely
Jason Green
feel like I
onto the podium.
stole 2
Oh,
places
we gotta
there.
have a quick look at that and see exactly what happened, because I don't.
Well,
Oh,
there's
is that
Thompson
spot?
Trophy.
Yep.
It is a
Mr.
sputter.
Pinero.
Yes, coming out of turn
Although he
8.
did
Already-
make it to the
already
line, so
struggling
I'm
for
not
fuel.
sure
There
what
goes
the
Jason Green. There goes
what the
Aleix
criteria
Pleva. He's
is.
just holding
Yeah,
on for
now he
dear
made
life
the
at this
finish.
point.
So
But yeah, Kane, showing off his alien credentials, getting extensive damage, still wins the race. James as well, right on his heels, had the small mistake, but still a great drive from him. And it was a great battle with Alish and Marco. Despite how aggressive it was, we only had 0 X's.
Mhm.
No major contact, so great driving from them as usual. Bobby pushed so hard the entire race. He got so close to the draft and catching us, but it was just a little bit too far. Yeah, so great race from everybody. Let's go Antonio with the Masters win, and Andrew with S2.
I tried so hard to track him down, but man, like you warned me too in practice, Jason. You were like, you got to save those tires, and by the end of it, I closed the gap down to about a second and a half, and then I just lost it all. It just started falling away so fast.
Yep. Yeah. Any small mistake will the pace is just gonna fall off a cliff.
Yep. And also we've got Michelle Lynn in the chat saying, Jason, that's one alien calling another alien an alien. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can see I was 7 seconds behind him, so
yeah. So yeah, it was good. It was a good race, and obviously I am gonna have to do a couple things here, but we can, Stevie, you can still pull up all the results and stuff if you want to.
I'm gonna throw up some points. Yeah, we'll go over some points.
I somehow found a way to mess up.
Yeah. So there we go. Formula V's, Thor and Jason, 11 points apart.
Gonna be close.
Guido sitting her.
Because I think Thor and I have very similar drops. I think let me look at Jim's notes here. Yeah, so Thor has is dropping a 53-point race, and I'm dropping a 48-point race. So so I can,
catch up a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. And we are at where are we next week? I'm blanking on where we're at, but
we are at Lebanon.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so
for the V's.
And that's definitely more of a driver track than a draft track. Though in the V's, every track is a draft track. So so yeah, that'll be interesting for sure.
Spec 2's pretty close in the V's too. Jay Fitzgerald, what is it? 17 points ahead of Andrew, and then Russell's like 4 points behind him. So both classes good and tight.
Andrew's making a charge here. The past couple races, he's he's always fast in the V's. It's if you ask him, he'll say it's his strongest car by far. He's super quick in it, so not surprising for him to make a charge. Just needs to avoid the bad luck, I think. And yeah, he'll keep it should be close.
Yeah. Formula Ford, Spec 1, James Berry over Kevin Adrian by 36 points or something. And Michael McConnell's not too far back. Spec 2, Joshua Wilkie's kind of got that one sewn up, I think. Bill Walker and Paul Jackson coming up behind him. And the Masters, Jorg has made his way to the top. And I don't think that's right for Brad and Jim. So.
Yeah.
Somebody screwed up the slide.
Yeah, so Brad should have 546, and then Jim has 423.
Yep. All right, and moving on over to the Spec Racers, Marco kind of got that one locked out.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Winning 7 races in a row. We'll do that when there's only 10 races that count. So so yeah. With his finish this week, I think Bobby did the math, and even if he doesn't show up for the rest of the races, he's already locked it out. So so yeah. Bobby still has he does have a 0 points race so far, so he can still pass me. Yeah. So
well,
if he gets a win, he'd go to 822.
Yeah, he needed a first or second place finish to do it,
which Bobby is capable of. So yeah, he's it's gonna be close, I think.
Yep. Wilkie on top of Spec 2 in here. Paul Jackson, Paulo Bremi. Masters got Tom, Brad, and Adam. So
Yep. All
pretty good close races.
very close.
Bradshaw type.
Yeah. Both Brad and Adam have 0 races or 0 points races, 1 apiece. So
Okay.
so whatever they score in the next race, they're going to get full points for that. Whereas Tom is his lowest race so far is a 40-point race. So so yeah, it's he could get leapfrogged by Brad and Adam in the last couple weeks.
All right. And while we are
anything can
Brad-
happen in the SRF because we're going to Monza this week.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
We had a wild race for the Monday SRF race. And you know, the imagine the stereotypes for sim racing at Monza, and we had all of that, including a 4,000ths margin of victory at the very end between Sergio and I. We managed to escape after a crash in turn 1. So yeah, we just kind of had a draft duel at the very end there. But yeah, anything can happen in Monza. It'll be wild. So the points could get shaken up a little bit.
And Michelle is asking if you are going to do the Miata race tomorrow.
No, I think that's Jason Grider. JG1.
Oh, Jason Grider.
JG1 is
AG1. There you
Yep.
go. Yep. And that means we do have the other league, which is coming up tomorrow. Group 1 is round 2 at Mount Panorama. So this is the one that is sponsored by Sim Motion and Darin Gangi, and we shall have him in here shortly to talk about some of this stuff.
He's sitting in the waiting room right now in Discord. I don't know if he's ready for you in Riverside or not yet, Stevie.
Yeah, I don't see him showing up yet, but let's see here. So yeah, that's there we go. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow night.
Yeah, it should be. Hopefully, can make that one. I'm looking forward to it if I can.
First race is two Miatas, the 2010 version and the MX-5 Global Miata, and then 30 minutes, and then we'll do all the TCRs for 40 minutes on the same track. So,
Brenton, I agree with you on that statement, man. Panorama is by far one of my favorite tracks on the.
Yeah, look forward to seeing the TCRs in the rain at Bathurst.
Yeah. No, we have a good. We've got a good forecast for a sunny day at Bathurst. So, no rain this week for the TCRs. So, and
well, it looks like we got Darin here in the Discord. Darin, yep, can hear you. Just trying to get you into Riverside so we can see you, and then we're good to go.
All right. Let's see.
Yep, there we go.
There he is.
And there's the man. Look at that.
Hey,
awesome
guys.
Background, Darin. Awesome. Darin, welcome to the 4-seat. Let me introduce you to one of our co-hosts. Adam there is the founder of Slow Motion Broadcasting, commentator extraordinaire. So keeps me going straight. And JG2 over here, Jason Green, he's one of our Weekend Warrior champions, does a little coaching and takes care of doing most of our highlights for us. So
cool.
Welcome
How's
into
it going, guys.
Well,
hey, Darin.
So as everybody sees, we've got Darin Gangi, and if you didn't know already, he is Mr. Sim Motion, where you can get all your sim rigs and equipment and everything. He's also the sponsor of that league we were just talking about. So really super appreciate your time, Darin. I know you mentioned earlier this is a Black Friday and really a busy time of the year for you. And to take time out and join us here. We'll try to make the 4-seat as comfortable as we can for you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an honor. So we always start off asking our guests how they got started with this crazy hobby that we all share called sim racing. So how far back, what happened, what got you involved in sim racing?
Well, I was always into gaming. Always gravitated towards racing video games. Dating. So I'm 56. So dating back into the early 80s. My first taste of like kind of a true sim was Indianapolis 500 The Sim by Dave Kimmer, Papyrus. Um, Played it with like a joystick and a keyboard, and always tried to just find something that worked to get me around the track. And I never finished like a full race. I think the most I ever finished was like 50 laps. But that was like my first taste. And I've always been into racing, racing in cars. So so yeah, that's where it started. And then I've just kind of been along the sim racing journey ever since. Every title that Papyrus came out with, I had, and then fast forward to 2007, started Inside Sim Racing with Sean Cole, who's still doing the Sim Pit, and then worked for Sim Experience for a little bit, and now I have Sim Motion. So that's kind of in a nutshell, that's my sim racing life. So hobby turned into a career.
That's it's fun when you never work a day when you do what you enjoy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't sim race as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Because my whole day is just revolves around sim racing. But but yeah, I love it. I love being a part of it, and I always have, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah, you must, because like you said, you've been around it for so long. I met you very briefly at the I Race for Life. It was a convention that they used to have in Dallas once a year. So that was fun. Local people come in and set up rigs, and people from all over the U.S. and people like Darin would come in and give talks on different subjects and everything from like sim setups and suspension setups to rigs, and I don't know what all that was there, paints, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, all the stuff you mentioned. There was all we had classes and stuff on all that stuff. Matter of fact, a lot of those videos are still up.
Yeah.
From those seminars. I missed those. Those were a lot of fun. The I Race for Life. A lot of good camaraderie and
Yep. Somebody ought to get those started again.
so there's actually a guy named George Anzaldo who ran a series called Lionheart, which one of the bigger IndyCar series on iRacing. Kind of fizzled out when the whole iRacing IndyCar thing happened. And so anyway, George kind of stepped aside from that and then is doing it's called Sim Gaming Expo. So it's going to be the first one like it here in the States, and it's going to cover sim racing, flight sim, and he's going to do like farming sim and stuff like that. But that's in September of next year, and then I think the sim racing expo is coming this way too as well.
Yeah, cool.
From what I heard.
Yeah, that'll be yes. Well, you mentioned briefly that you did some real world racing. What did you do?
No, I've never done any real world. I've done some track days.
Okay.
A little bit of drag racing. All my racing experiences virtual.
Okay.
Done a ton of sim racing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure drag racing counts as racing, even though you're not turning. You know, some people would argue that it's not real racing, but we'll call it that here. How's that sound, Darin?
That sounds great, but even that was more like a track day. It was just Friday night drags, and whoever I just pulled up next to is who I ran. So yes, I raced my real car against another real car, and I don't even remember if I won. But a handful of times I've done that. So, but never like door to door or wheel to wheel real world racing. I've been on, again, bunch of track day stuff, but never real world racing.
Sorry, Stevie. What's your track day car when you did it, Darin?
So yeah, I mean, I was back. So I'm living in Washington State now. I lived in Southern California and took it to Willow Springs. I have a 97 Z28 that I took.
Yes. Okay. All right.
And then I have a more current track car that I actually haven't taken to the track. I've been kind of a wimp to take it. I have another Camaro, a SS 2017 SS 1LE. So it's a track edition car that I actually haven't taken on the track.
I am going to definitely buy some stuff from you now, Darin. You're speaking to a Chevy man through and through right now. So
you're talking his language.
Yeah, good thing I didn't say it was a Ford then, I guess.
Yeah, yep. You would have lost a customer there. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I've been a Camaro guy my whole life. So yeah, I just haven't. That's like my baby. That's like the car I've always wanted. Like my dream car, and so it's just. I've only got like 8,000 miles on it, and so I've actually taken it on the drag strip. I've drag raced that, but I haven't taken it on the road race track day. Maybe next year, maybe next season.
Well, in your background of sims, I mean, you've got such a wide variety and a huge background. What would be let's see, how can I put it? You see people starting out all over the place. You get calls and everything. What is the most common mistake that you see people making that is just a real quick fix or something that you see?
That's a good question. I think maybe diving in before doing a little research is probably the biggest mistake, because then then what ends up happening is then they start growing. I could call it the sim racing rabbit hole.
Yes.
And I'm definitely a buy once, cry once type. So so when people call, I usually, if sales call, say, what's your budget? And then I'll try to get the best bang through the buck within that budget. So I think that would be the biggest mistake. And I wouldn't really call it a mistake, because you're getting into sim racing. And so at least they're getting their foot in the door.
I think what I see a lot, see if you agree, but I see some of them come in and they say, I've got to have that A license. I got to do whatever it takes. I've got to get up to the best and be the best. And then by the time they do that or something, they're like burnt out and this isn't fun anymore, and they're gone.
Yeah, I can see that too. When you're talking about it on that side of things, I could see that as being a mistake.
Yeah.
What other are you a big just all racing sim stuff, or do you have stuff for everybody? I mean, I'm sitting in my racing sim right now, but I've got my joystick and my throttle and all that stuff for flying for Flight Simulator. Do you do stuff like that through Sim Motion as well, or is it all just racing right?
So any of the motion systems that we carry would do flight. And then we just started carrying Moza, just started carrying flight gear. So we have their let me pull up my website here real quick. So we have their so they have like a force feedback base. So we have their base, a stick, and we just got this in like a week or two ago.
Gearing up for the new flight sim coming out.
Yeah, exactly. So so we started carrying their stuff, and then we're also gonna start carrying Thrustmaster. So we'll have the Thrustmaster flight stuff, as well as probably lean more towards the direct drive stuff on the racing. But so we'll start carrying Thrustmaster pretty soon too. But so I definitely want to start diving more into the flight sim community, especially since Moza. I mean, it was easy just to get the product. I'm already a dealer for their racing stuff, so they're like, "Hey, we're going to start offering this flight stuff. You want it?" And I'm, "Yeah, definitely. We wanted to go that route anyway." Actually, my neighbor across the street bought a sim for me about 6 months ago. So about the chassis, and about the same time you got yours, Stevie. And he set his up for flight and racing. As a matter of fact, I think he uses it more for flight. So yeah, he set it up for both.
Yep.
That's what I've got. I mean,
I kind of get. Go ahead.
I'm more back and forth. I think I'm sort of a one sim guy sort of thing. So when the flight sim comes out, Stevie, you might not see me for a couple months when the new flight sim comes out. But yeah, once I do that for a while, like you talked about with the burnout stuff, Stevie, you get burnt out on it. So then I come back to the iRacing side.
Yeah.
The one thing that annoys me the most, I will tell you, I think it might just be because I'm getting older, but with the chassis I have, trying to get in and out of this thing with my joystick on one side and my throttle on the other, it gets harder and harder the more my knees pop as I get older. So,
yep, I was gonna say that's a getting older problem.
Yeah.
Well, you got a ways to go. All of you got a ways to go yet. So,
so yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm a little spoiled in the aviation side. The flight sims, I get it at work all the time, so I'm a little spoiled there. But
and I'm kind of like you, Adam. I dipped my toes in the water in flight sim early.
Yes.
Like, man, my PC couldn't even barely handle it. I remember there was one that I played, Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe. So that's go look that one up. So that kind of dates how far back that I did it, and I played. There's a few of them at the time that I dabbled in, and then sim racing really started to take off, and I got a wheel and pedal set, and then that was it.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, when I get into something, I go all in, and it was all into sim racing. So I just didn't have the time to devote to both and raise kids and all that good stuff. So
well, the realism I think is a lot easier for racing sims to hit on than it is in flights, unless you're Stevie Ray and you work on the big ones for a living. The realisms in racing sims are quite a bit easier, I think, for all the force feedback and all that stuff. It just seems easier to nail down because it's a 3-dimensional, but it's a 2-dimensional surface basically compared to all of the other effects you have.
Yep. Yeah, well, that makes sense. It's easier, a little bit easier to immerse yourself, I would say.
Do you get involved with many of the leagues, Darin? Yourself running them? And if so, what kind of rate? No,
I used. So here's the thing. I love league racing, and if I was gonna like focus on racing right now, it would definitely be in a league environment. Because I like, again, the camaraderie and then the rivalries that you build and all that. I mean, it's awesome.
What's your go-to car?
So what I really like, what I usually do at least once a year is run the 24 Hours of Daytona. So we usually get a team together. I've run it every year except I think one, since they started it with the multiple drivers, the driver swaps. And then I did it they did the 2.4 at Daytona before that. So I've run that. That's like my favorite event, running the multi-class endurance racing. So that's like the last big race I ran was actually in your race that you did, that rain race. I didn't last long, but yeah, so you guys were talking about burnout. As far as racing goes, so here's the thing. I have sims at my shop and I get in them all the time. But as far as like devoting the time to racing, I've been doing it since the 80s or early 90s. Really, I mean, I've been really sim racing like religiously since probably the mid 90s. And then right around COVID, I raced in that Lionheart League. That's the last big league that I ran in that I really devoted the time to. But again, I'll race in that 24 every year and maybe some events here and there. And again, I'll jump in the sims at work all the time. We've got 5 sims set up. And we'll with all the guys that work for me. So Jake, who races in the league, he man, dude's a friggin' alien. And then there's another kid, Cole, that works for me. He's just as fast as Jake. And then Mike, another guy that works for me. And so all of us are sim racers. So we'll all jump in the sims and time trial stuff. Like hey, set a lap and see if you can beat it. And usually those kids beat us every time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Sim racing nowadays. That's like my sim racing career. I kind of dabble in it more than do it full time. I mean, I live in it full time with the business. But as far as it as a hobby, it's the stuff that's what my hobby is right now. That's my current obsession, is to try to get 1 billion on a machine. That's
I see that.
yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, I still love sim racing. And probably do the 24 again this year. But my favorite car, I love prototypes. Open wheel and prototypes are probably my favorite to race.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll race anything: dirt, NASCAR, oval, short track, doesn't matter. I'll rally stuff. I love driving anything.
Yeah. So you obviously do more than just the iRacing then?
No, that's pretty much if I'm gonna sim race, it's iRacing primarily. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, so like I like rally stuff. But like I was just talking to Jake. We were just mentioning Jake, the guy that works for me, and I was talking to him this weekend, and he's like, "Man, I've been playing. You guys heard of Richard Burns Rally? You guys familiar with that one? Man, that is the holy grail of. It's actually one of the GOATs as far as rally goes. Richard Burns Rally is the best. Physics engine wise, it is probably one of the best titles ever.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah.
So Jake, who like I couldn't believe he was playing. Richard Burns Rally came out in like 2004.
Wow.
And it was, I can't remember the guys that created the physics. They ended up working for other development teams.
Sure.
But that title's still modded heavily to this day. There's a huge community behind it. You can do you can race rallies online. So anyway, back to what your question. I digress. iRacing is pretty much the only place I race.
Yeah.
I'll dabble in all the other stuff. I'll race anything, but if I'm gonna devote time to something, it's definitely iRacing.
Sure. Oh, what you got, Jason?
Well, at the risk of turning this into a sales call for Darin, as somebody who's in the market for a sim rig, because I currently have just one of those fold up ones off of Amazon that has a little bit of flex in it.
A little,
I would say, a little bit, yeah. What's the difference between the two chassis y'all have?
So it's the 160 that Stevie's got, and the 80. So basically, it's the size of the profile. So 160. So basically, you got the chassis at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So 160 is 160 millimeters, and basically, so you got the slots. Every slot's 40 millimeters.
Okay.
So, excuse me. So 160's got the 4 slots. 80's got the 2 slots. Now, they're both I'd say they're pretty equal as far as stability goes. The 160 is just going to be inherently a little bit more stable. You cinch everything down, and that thing's barely moving. You might get a little bit of movement. Stevie, do you have the attached monitor stand or the detached? Yours is detached.
Detached. Yep, detached.
So if you attach a monitor stand to it, you might see just a little bit of movement on the 160. If you were to do it on an 80, you're going to see a little bit more.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty much the difference. And then the other difference is the length. The 160 is a little bit longer, probably by 4 inches, maybe.
Okay.
So not a big. I'm 6'4", and I fit in both just fine. I fit in the 80 just fine. I have to stretch it. Excuse me. I have to stretch it out a little bit more. But that's really the biggest difference between the two.
Okay.
If you're going to do motion, I would definitely lean towards the 160.
Okay.
But otherwise, they're both great chassis, both super stable. The only problem with them right now, I have an ocean container coming of those things.
Oh boy,
that's stuck. And you hear these stories, and this is, and I hate to even use this as an excuse, but this is totally legit. This freaking container's been sitting in the Seattle port for a month.
Oof.
And then it got transferred to customs. It's been sitting. I'm new to this stuff, like dealing with this kind of stuff. And this thing's been sitting in customs now for like 3 weeks.
I'm getting flashbacks of 2020 now when nobody did anything because the ports were so backed up. And yep.
Well, and it makes me wonder, about that port strike that took place briefly.
Yep.
For so that was on the other side of the country. I'm wondering how many things got potentially diverted.
Yep.
Like in anticipation to come to this side of the country. So I don't know. So anyway, back to the chassis. I digress again. It's a great chassis. If you look up, it's the exact same thing as a GT Omega Prime. Same exact chassis.
Gotcha.
Basically, we got the same manufacturer. It's just we got our branding on it. But yeah, it's a quality, sturdy chassis.
Yep.
That's not a sales pitch. That's definitely from a sim racer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. It's a beast.
Yeah, I definitely that's definitely the thing that's holding me back for sure right now is
I don't think there's much
slamming
holding
on
you back, Jason.
slamming on the brakes and having the chair come up off the ground.
Yeah, please,
is
for the
not
love
ideal.
of God, do not buy anything from Darin. You're already way too fast, dude. We don't need anything to make you faster.
Yep.
You know what? If somebody was to say, what's the first thing I should get, I would say that.
Yep.
Because a rig, even if it doesn't, just giving you a little bit extra stability and putting you in that seating position, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
So
nice.
that definitely.
I remember getting a rig. I mean, it's not anything like Stevie's or the ones that you sell, Darin, but it's just a next level rig. And to be able, I just remember I had the first thing I got. I went down the rabbit hole, right? The sim racing rabbit hole. So I got Master TSXW, and I got this stand from Amazon, and I was basically it had the wheel and the pedals, but I still had a computer chair that I was sitting in. So every time you'd stomp on the brakes or stomp on the gas, you'd start rolling back. So you didn't have confidence like you do in a rig that's not going to flex or move, or you're not going to roll back or anything like that, to do exactly what Jason already does and beat everybody because he is super confident on the brakes and the gas. So you don't need anything better, Jason.
Well, you say that. David Gaspers, he literally still drives on like a G29 and a rolling chair.
That's insane.
And a single small monitor.
Yeah, a single screen.
That's awesome.
Pedals up against the wall. Yeah.
Yep.
So actually, I think he might get slower if he had like a real rig.
Well, it just goes to show you it's not the gear. And I tell any customer that calls and says, hey, I want the best, and I'll say, well, why? Well, I want to be fast, and I'm like, well, it's not about that. Going back to iRace for Life.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember Ray Alfalla was there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ray Alfalla. Ray Alfalla is like a 4 or 5 time NASCAR iRacing champion.
Yep.
And he's not racing with this anymore. And he's I don't even know if he's still racing, but so I remember the first time going there, he was on, you guys remember the Logitech DFGT? Basically the cheap driving force GT, the cheapest force feedback wheel and pedal set you can get. That's what he was racing on and winning championships. He would turn the force feedback off pretty much. And I remember watching him drive with his like just with two fingers and just like It was all oval stuff, but just just finessing it. And the dude won, like, man, probably a couple $100,000 as the NASCAR champion. But again, it just goes to show you it's not the gear. It's talent, and then getting super comfortable with your gear. Right. But back to you, JG. It's, man, having that extra bit of confidence. Confidence, Adam, was that key word.
Yes.
Not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
When you take that out of the equation, and all you're thinking about is driving, it definitely changes things. It helps immerse you more. It helps you make you feel like
that was the other word I was going to say. Yep.
Yeah,
and that's I'll call different pieces of hardware layers of immersion. Like a butt kicker, a transducer will add a layer of immersion. Motion, force feedback, sound, VR can be a layer of immersion if you like VR. So, and then there's ways that you can break immersion. Like with motion, especially, I love motion, but tuned lightly, so you barely you feel the cues. You feel what the car's doing, but you're not being thrown around like you're on a roller coaster. But I think you break immersion when you do that. When you start thinking about, man, I shouldn't be moving this much, and versus just thinking about driving and being immersed. I think that's the key.
Yep. Or you go to brake for a corner and you feel the pedal shift position.
And you start thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, did I imagine that, or did they actually change where they are? Did I do something different? So it's it definitely.
Is the brake going to be there? Is the brake going to be there when I get to the next corner?
Yeah, I've got a quick story. I was in a league race a couple years ago with a couple buddies, and we're all sitting on Discord, and all of a sudden, I think we were doing a road race. The guy's name was Mike Sorm, and he was right behind me. And all of a sudden, I hear something that sounds like a gunshot that was in, and all of a sudden, I hear Mike go, a lot of expletives. He said, the bleeping spring just shot off the brake pedal and started bouncing around his room. He went to go stomp on the brakes. Freaking spring just going all over his room. I was like, holy crap, Mike. It sounded like you just got shot, man. He's like, I thought I got shot.
I got a good one, too. I got a good, true accident story. So Mike, a guy who works for Mike Caminetti, him and a guy named Mike Tanti are good buddies. They've been buddies, sim racing buddies forever. Mike Tanti dabbles in a lot of high-end hardware, and he's good buddies with the guy that owns SimLab and a guy that does D-Box stuff. And anyway, Mike's dabbled in a lot of different motion systems. Are you guys familiar with a seat mover, like how a seat mover works? Mm-hmm. So anyway, a seat mover in motion. So imagine your seat's moving, and the whole chassis is stationary, and the seat's basically sitting on a U-joint.
Right.
So the whole seat's pivoting like that, and then you got two actuators on the back that are actuating the seat. It's actually great motion. So I think he was in a rig like that, and I think an actuator collapsed or broke loose or something. Whole rig, and it's on video. I think he was streaming. So it's out there on the internet somewhere. He basically, the whole rig collapses like he was in a league race. Yeah, and then it's on the ground. I think he actually got hurt from it too.
Oh,
but
man,
that's one of the most realistic sim racing wrecks I've ever heard of.
Who says you can't get hurt in a wreck in sim racing?
Yeah. Direct drive wheel can hurt you.
Yeah,
real quick too.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what do you guys all drive with? What do you guys all drive with?
It's older. Need to upgrade eventually, but I've got a Fanatic DD1 with the Fanatic Formula V2 wheels, and then the Club Sport, the inverted pedals. And I'm on a
sweet
next level racing rig. I don't even know what it is, but I've got the triple monitors and the stands that go onto the rig and all that stuff. So it's nice for me because it's on wheels, and obviously I'm in a house now, but when I first got it, my wife and we were in apartments, so we were moving quite a bit, so it was easier to roll everything around on this thing instead of just like Stevie's. I bet you If Stevie ever decides to move out of his house, he's gonna have to spend a day dedicated to just getting that thing broken down enough to get it through his doors.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can relate. Mine used to be sitting right there. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, my rig was right there, and I wasn't using it much because I have the ones at the shop. But it took me a good full day to break it down, and it's basically Steve's exact rig.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can definitely relate. They take
My
up some
wife's been
space.
trying to get us to stay in this house, so don't give her any more excuses. I retire and stay here, so
There you
that's all there
Yep.
is. Yep.
What do you want, Jason?
I'm on a single screen Fanatec CSL Elite belt wheel, V3 pedals, and then a next level folding rig.
Yep.
That
Okay.
is, as I mentioned, not very stable. So yeah, I'm looking to upgrade all of that, but the first, except for the pedals are great.
Oh, I love these.
Yeah, the first thing, yeah, is definitely the chassis. I'm looking at, and yeah, so.
And for road racing, yeah, I'd say pedals are definitely key as well.
I got
Yeah,
one
it was
more.
huge going from the actuator or the potentiometer to the
Yes.
to the load cell.
Yep.
That was the biggest change in performance for me, for sure.
Got one
Yeah, I
more
call it
question, Stevie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Darin.
Go ahead, guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I got one more question, then I'll shut up, Stevie, because I know we're running a little bit long here. So, Darin, within the past like year and a half or so, I've been out of it for a while, been moving a lot and stuff, but getting back into sim racings and stuff, I hear all my buddies saying, yeah, I mean, all of these direct drive wheels, because I remember when I got this direct drive wheel back in 2019, I think, or 2018, it was a big deal to have a direct drive wheel back then. I mean, what are your thoughts now? I mean, all of the direct drive wheels, Turtle Beach has one now, Logitech's got one, Thrustmaster. I mean, all of these companies that didn't have them before are coming out with them now. Are you worried about build quality on stuff like that, or do you think it's all just kind of come together because that technology has been out for so
long? I think it's the latter. I think, well, it's also going to depend on who you're getting it from. Right. Turtle Beach, they've never been known for good sim racing hardware, so I would shy away from their stuff. All the major three brands, Logitech, Fanatec, Thrustmaster, they're all gonna. I have a Logitech, one of the driving force, whatever the direct drive for, and it's cool, it's nice. I think we're like the brands like Sim Magic and Moza are really kicking ass over some of these other guys. Logitech is their ecosystem. Like the amount of wheels that it just the quality of the wheels, like and then they're all starting to come out with pedals. So I think the brands that are the bigger brands are the ones that you should lean towards. Versus the Camus is a brand that comes to mind. They've got a few direct drive offerings, and I've tested it. It looks cool. They just don't have much of an ecosystem. They're just not putting as much behind their company and the branding and the development as like Sim Magic and Moza. Sim Magic is just they're blowing me away.
Yeah.
Every time I turn around, they're coming out with new stuff. And when I first got into this, I was really hesitant to carry brands like this. When I first started this, I worked for Sim Experience, who was an American brand. They made the AccuForce, and that was the first turnkey direct drive. And when Sim Magic came on the market, it was their M10 was kind of like a copy of the Sim Experience AccuForce. I'm like, who the hell are these guys copying us at Sim Experience? Anyway, Sim Experience let me go right when COVID hit, and then this opportunity presented itself, and Jens, who brought me in, Jens has the German version of the store, said, "Hey, we got Sim Magic. We love it. It's a great brand, and why don't you start with it?" And I said, "Okay, let me try it out." Tried it. I loved it, and that was their M10. It was basically an exact copy of the AccuForce, but then they went from that and then just started coming out with all sorts of killer gear. And I honestly was like, I'm thinking, man, they're coming out with all this stuff. Like, how much are they testing?
Exactly.
And I was worried. And as a dealer, I'm thinking, am I going to have all these defects? And nope. And every brand's going to have defects.
Right.
Yep.
There's no manufactured product on the planet that doesn't have some kind of defect rate. At least I don't think so. But anyway, in this industry, that's the case. But it's been minimal. And early on, or actually still have to handle like all the support for all the stuff I sell. And Sim Magic is definitely the brand I sell the most of. And I got one guy, Mike, the guy I was mentioning earlier. He handles all my support. He does sales and stuff like that. And he handles support for all the brands. And I honestly won't carry a brand that's just going to have a bunch of defects because A, I don't want it to hurt our reputation. B, I'm a sim racer and I don't want to sell junk to other sim racers. And then I just, from a cost perspective, I don't want to have to deal with it. You know, the complaints and anyway, there's just so much to do with it. So these brands have been awesome. As far as the quality goes, the low amount of defects, and then the amount of innovation. You know, like they came out with those. You guys familiar with the haptic things they came out with
the gloves?
Man,
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, no, they came out with the haptic. They came out with you guys familiar with butt kickers?
Oh yeah.
What a butt kicker is?
2 of them.
So they came out with like these mini butt kickers that you can attach to your pedals.
Oh wow.
And for their pedals, they came out with them for the Sim Magic pedals. Well, people quickly realized that you could buy the control box and then you can pretty much get a 3D printed bracket for any pedal brand on the market. And so everybody's getting, you guys familiar with SimHub, the app that you can do dashes and stuff? Well, SimHub, you can do haptic. So you get SimHub, you get one of these haptic, it's like a little barrel. It's like that big around and like that long. And you can put it on all 3 of your pedals. You can mount it to a handbrake. You can mount them anywhere. But totally tunable vibrations. Man, I can't keep these things on the shelf. They just, because people, originally I was buying them for just the Sim Magic products, but then everybody started realizing you can get them for Husingfeld and V&M pedals and pretty much every pedal on the market. So anyway, yeah, their innovation, like the stuff that they've come out with, like that in particular, and just their wheels and the bases and their pedals, they make great stuff.
All right, Stevie,
I think
sorry.
a lot of people...
One more question.
Sorry, go ahead.
I got it. Now, feel free to stop me here if you can't or won't talk about it, but obviously there was a bit of I just told you about my setup. It's all Fanatic or Fanatec. They've gone through a bit of an issue as of the last year or so. Does that worry you at all? Do you know anything about like what the future of that is? Are you still selling their stuff? I mean, what it for you is obviously not a distributor for them probably, but what does that do for your business at all?
So I don't sell their stuff. Their model has pretty much always been that they only sell their stuff.
Okay.
So all their distribution points have pretty much been through them worldwide. I actually worked for them briefly in 2011 for, I don't know, about 4 months. So I'm a little bit familiar with how that all worked. But as far as what happened recently, and knowing Thomas, the owner, the previous owner, I'm kind of not surprised that it happened. I mean, I hate to say it just because I know him, and it sucks that it happened. But I think it's in good hands now with Corsair. Now, from a business standpoint, it really helped me because
can imagine.
Usually this is my busy season until like right around the end of the year, right after Christmas, and then things just kind of taper off. Well, this year things just kept going. Like in January and February, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was that
People
whole
getting all their new stuff.
well, people were getting burned by Fanatic.
Yep, and coming over to this.
People weren't getting Black Friday deals that they were promised and wait for months. They canceled orders and they jumped ship and started coming to Sim Magic and Moses stuff. And I couldn't keep it on the shelves. I was forecasting for the slower months, and I'm like, what? Things were just flying off the shelves. And I call it the Fanatic effect. So yeah, and so that definitely they were the biggest in the industry.
Yes, for a long time.
Yes, and so yeah, I feel really bad for all the people that potentially got burned. All the people that were shareholders, man, they are the ones that really got burned. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when I heard. Well, I guess I could kind of believe it, but when I heard they were building go-kart tracks and shit on the what? What are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, it's again, I hate to benefit from a failure, but my company definitely benefited from it, and so did Sim Magic and all the brands that I carry. They all every brand other than Fanatic benefited from that fallout.
Absolutely,
there's no question. Yeah, because people were just jumping ship because they didn't trust that their stuff was going to be around, and so anyway, pretty crazy.
You guys, people in our chat that's saying that took a while to get their shipment of their stuff and everything too. So they were.
I mean, my first wheelbase I got back in 2019. Like I said, the first one was DOA. So it was an RMA process, and let me tell you, RMA process and dealing with the customer service of those people, I thought about just when I got the new one, I was just going to put it out on the curb and get something else and say free, because I didn't even want to do it. It took, I think it was 7 months that I didn't have a wheelbase.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's unacceptable. And so I've modeled this company the exact opposite of that. That's actually, so that's one of the reasons why when I went to work for them is back in 2011, that their reputation just kept getting worse for support. And I had built a reputation for doing inside sim racing, not always good, but mostly good. And then, but I didn't want to be part of that and just have to deal with that. And so that's part of the reason why I left back. That was in 2011. So they've always had a bad reputation for support. And this is what I've always said about Fanatic gear. Fanatic makes great gear when you don't get a lemon.
Yes.
Like Adam, you got a DOA, you know.
Yeah.
The next one you got has probably been fine, right?
Oh yeah, since 2019, haven't had a single issue with it.
So
I've got V3s that have been just plugging along for like the same time or longer, and little to do, and it's great. So,
and that's just been and then something goes wrong, and good luck. You know, good luck getting their support. Hopefully Corsair will change that.
Sure.
And that's again part of what I did this with Sim Experience though too. When I worked for Sim Experience, they started getting a bad reputation. And I told Bernie, the owner, I'm like, man, let me help and support. Because I figured that, especially in today's day and age, that is so frontline. Like if you have shitty support, it is going to spread like wildfire, and everybody's going to talk about it. And so, I turned their support around. And then when I started this, I'm like, man, I'm going to answer every email, every phone call, and never leave anybody hanging. And I'll go to bat, you know, if the manufacturer's like, well, we don't know if we want to replace. I'm like, no. Replace it. Let's just replace it. And so I advocate for the customer always.
I want to advocate for you a little bit. Darin has really been supportive of some of the stuff we've done. He supported the some of the SCCA leagues that we used to have, and now, as I mentioned, he is sponsoring our club racing league that happens tomorrow night. And I'm going to share a screen real quick if I can get it up here. And this is our race tomorrow night with the Miatas, as I mentioned, and the TCRs. There's the times over here starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. But again, the whole league, the whole season, Darin and Sim Motion have stepped up to sponsor it to make sure we get it broadcasted on Slow Motion Broadcasting.
Who's that?
So huge, huge shout out to you guys. Go back to there's the results from last week, and his guy there, Jake Steadden, won the TCR race. So Ian Anderson, and I think Will Peer is another one of your team members or something, Darin.
Yeah, so they're all locals.
Yeah.
So Jake works for me. Jake actually lives with Ian and his wife, Carrie.
Okay.
Carrie also races in your league. And then Will is a good. Yep, and Will's a good buddy of theirs. They all autocross and stuff together, and do some local club racing and a bunch of different stuff. Ian and Carrie have a performance shop. So anyway, yeah, they all know each other really well.
That's awesome. That was a tough race too. It was in the rain with the TCRs.
You screwed us on that one, dude.
I watched it. Yeah, that was a fun race to watch. And I was, you know what, you were talking about, do I race? I was so tempted to say, hey, I really want to race with you guys, but I just know me, and I'd race a couple times, and then I wouldn't, and just because I get caught up in so many other things. But you guys look like you're having a lot of fun. Your leagues look, and it's my pleasure to support you guys. You put on a good show.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, and we try to set it up kind of like the real world club racers. You know, if you show up and want to race, that's great, and if you can't make it, that's fine too. And the guys that want to chase the championship are going to be there every week, and we've made some good friends and a lot of good acquaintance with that. So anyway, that's tomorrow night on Slow Motion Broadcasting, thanks to Darin Gangi and Sim Motion. So just to wrap it up real quick. I know we kept you a little longer than you were hoping to, Darin, but
no problem.
Some great information and background and a totally great point of view that you've shared that we haven't got yet. So, like I said, it's been an honor to finally meet you face to face and have a chat. We've talked on the phone and had some communications and got some stuff from you before, but it's great to actually meet you. And
my pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure, guys. And it's good to be part of your guys' series, and hope to be for a long time.
Awesome. Well, we really thank you, and on behalf of the league, really thank you. So,
yeah, it's our pleasure. Guys?
See you on the track tomorrow, Jason.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap it up and say goodnight, and we'll see you with episode 17 next week with, who's my guest next week?
Michelle Lynn.
Michelle Lynn. And
Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. A little different because it's Thanksgiving week, so we're going to do a Monday night show next week. So, again, thanks, Darin. Appreciate you. Thanks, you.
My pleasure. Nice meeting you guys.
Bye, guys.
Can't do it without you. Really appreciate you. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.